Hello and welcome to this week's episode of QTV, and boy have we got a great show lined up for you today.
We'll be chatting with folk duo Sam Lowe's and Rosie Burgess, the musical phenomenon known as the Tuck Shop Ladies.
We also have a new series where we take a glimpse into Asia, and this week we'll be looking at Taiwan's same-sex marriage victory.
Michael Barnett talks about the recent Jewish Community Centre's heartfelt apology for not including Q+ people.
And we'll also be taking a look at moments in time where we go back in history and look at the first Australian activist Q+ organisation, the Campaign Against Moral Persecution, or CAMP for short.
Traffic's backed up around the block. We've got you going 40 even though you've knocked off. Standing around doing nothing in my high vis. G'day.
Oh, g'day. I do remember meeting you and then putting your posters back in your car and seeing the state of your inside of your car and thought, oh my God, this...
Oh my God, I love this woman, is what I think she thought.
I did think that you were awesome, but I just thought, oh my God, her car is a mess.
From that very first moment that we started to play music together, it was sort of like, you know, a key that fit into a lock and, you know, singing together, the harmonies, our musical styles just, you know, fit like that. Our humour matched. And we just went out on tour and we were playing with somebody else for a while in the trio, and then she moved on and we got our bass player, Timmy, and he was sort of like the third part to the key in the lock in terms of, you know, harmony, humour, fun, just, and so as a trio we played together for I think about 9 years we've been playing together, so yeah.
And we still do gigs with Tim. So he would have been a tuck shop lady, but he lives too far away, so...
He's an honorary tuck shop lad, but we just fly him to wherever we're going.
Yeah, well, we just played a festival up in Townsville and we played as the Rosie Burgess Trio and the Tuck Shop Ladies, so that was really cool.
I'm a whiskey thumper, a Tanqueray bumper, a shot glass next to your bed. I've always been really attracted to genres that value the words.
Yeah, Rosie has an alter ego called Panica, and doing it's hip hop music, and you're definitely more political in Panica.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done it for ages. It was like a thing that I did a while ago, where I just made all this hip hop music, and it was great. It was lots of fun and
very good.
Digging a hole, we're just watching you. Digging a hole, we're watching you dig it. Do you wanna do it too? Smoker, smoker. I don't even smoke, but I'm taking a smoker. At least it gets me out of doing the work. Do you wanna do it too? I popped out a lesbian, always have been. It wasn't exactly a smooth experience to come out. It was not something that, you know, my mum didn't feel like it was the path that she wanted for me. For a kid living in Melbourne, probably in the street that I was living in, who decided that they were gay today, it would be, I'm assuming, much less of an issue.
You feel like you have to prove yourself a bit more, you know, like you rock up to a gig and, you know what you want from the sound, and people would sort of look at you a bit weird, or or you'd finish the gig, and before the gig they would say, no, you're not getting any rider, you don't, you have to pay for your water, and and then you might play this amazing gig, and they'll see what you can do, and then afterwards they're offering you top shelf whiskey. And I don't know, I found that stuff kind of annoying, but what about you?
I think you don't know what you miss out on because you're a woman or because you're gay, because you don't know what opportunities you were in line for that you didn't kind of get the nod for, just because of who you are. I think that the gender issue is so ingrained that it's going to take a long time to fix that up, and I think it's about opportunity. We were at a festival the other week and I was watching a band, and it was 7 guys playing all like different horns and drums and hip hop, and it was great and everyone was dancing, and I was thinking, if that was 7 women, that would be a really big deal, and people would be talking about, did you see those girls, did you see those women, like all, wow, hello girls, And one thing I always say to the MCs is, please don't introduce us as girls. Please don't necessarily draw attention to our gender because we're playing music here today. If you want to say anything about us, talk about our music, because the only way that I see that we're going to normalise that gender issue is by just being there and presenting the music as it's fine, it's normal to have 3 women on stage playing music, and we don't need to draw attention to the gender. Like if there were 3 guys on stage playing music, you wouldn't, talk about, wow, look at these boys, look at what they can do, gosh, there's a boy on the drums. Whew.
The premise of this band is that we just sing ridiculous songs. Because it makes us laugh. So why not? Need 1 hand for drinking, 2 hands for driving, 3 hands but you don't have 3 hands.
And who's this, you ask? This is Ruby, the new addition to our family.
Yeah.
She's all fluffy and clean because she's had a bath. We've had her for a year and she's had 1 bath.
We've got 2 cats. And we've got Ruby, and we've got our 10-year-old son.
Yep.
So we've got our work cut out for us.
Yep.
As
George, he's 10 and he's out working today. He's not in school. He's skipped school, and he's bringing home the
bacon.
That's when you call on your friends. So that's a chorus, and you sing that with us, okay?
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing what this tuck shop lady thing will do, because it's so much fun. And it's easy to play music with Rosie, and I think we'll always play music together. Living a full, beautiful life together, and it's full and it's full and it's full. When you spend time with Rosie Burgess, it's just, there's never ending things to do and new projects. Like she will wake up and go, do you know what, we should do this? And I'm like, yep, all right. And she'll just sit there going, well, you can put your shoes on, let's go. We're doing it now. We've got a podcast coming out. We've got some really sort of fun, exciting things that we want to do with this Tuck Shop Lady stuff. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, same. I am loving that we get to just strip away everything and go, does that feel fun? Yeah, let's do it.
That's when you call on your friends.
And coming up now, we're going to take a look at the celebrations in Taiwan, the first country in Asia to legalise same-sex marriage. Take a look at this.
In 2016, we launched the very recent marriage equality campaign. During that time, our main goal is change the civil code. There were 250,000 participants gathering together in front of the presidential hall to support marriage equality. Because of that rally, marriage equality bill sent out from the discussion process and then ready to go to the second reading. But after that, the bill seems like stuck at that moment. And then we got the information from the Constitutional Court. Court said it's unconstitutional that our current legal system rejects same-sex couple to get married. Our judges from Constitutional Court can only do the explanation and interpretation. They cannot do the decision. So back to the parliament again. And then we were facing the anti-LGBT referendum.
满18岁的朋友们，大家都要在11月24号回去投票。要去。
我有一个孩子，我支持婚姻平权，也支持性平教育。11月24号回家投票。
11月24， 11月24号
11月24号，11月24号
，11月24号
，11月24号，我会去投票。
我会去投票，
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 我会来家投票。
大家加油！
我们一起飞向彩虹。
The whole conservative power actually combined together. In the end, the result of the referendum was we lost. But actually, it's a little bit tricky. The referendum question cannot against the Constitutional Court's interpretation. So the Parliament used the Constitutional Court interpretation's number become the title of the bill. So people will say, oh, same-sex marriage law is like Constitutional Court's interpretation number 748.
3, 2, 1，婚姻平权，幸福起跑。
我们在7年前，反正就是一股冲动，然后就想结婚。
因为我觉得这一天对台湾来讲是非常意义重大的日子，如果能够直接在这天结婚的话，我觉得是非常棒的。
我们之前都有一些跌跌撞撞的交往，然后彼此遇到的时候觉得非常的适合，所以就赶快抓住彼此。
今天我觉得跟之前非常不一样的是，我们终于在法律上是有关系的，对，是有正当性的。
虽然是一个誓约，但是它是一个对自己的誓约，就是我希望我可以为这个人努力到我不能够为止。
人生是一辈子长长久久，那就是希望我们之后请继续多多指教，一起努力。
被讲走了。
Same-sex marriage bill is not the end of the campaign. It's actually the starting point.
附所处法，Venue 台湾后百年，社会祥和保安好。
A lot of feedback from the community. They say, I feel I can finally come out to my friends and family because the country recognizes it. And in Taiwan, LGBT issues, they are like a generational gap. Under 30 years old, the support rate of marriage equality, I think is over 85%.
我们结婚了，结婚了！你那么大声要吓死人哦！
结婚了，
结婚了，我们结婚了，
我们结婚了。
Coming up next is Q Plus activist Michael Barnett, who speaks with Saturday Magazine's Macca and Taz. Then we delve into our past to take a look at the first Q Plus organisation in Australia, the Campaign Against Moral Persecution.
We have Michael Barnett in the studio, who's going to talk to us about something that occurred just very recently in the Jewish community. The Jewish community apologised for not allowing the gay and lesbian Jewish organisation to participate in their business.
This was back in 1999, and at the time the organisation that I'm representing, Aleph Melbourne, was just for gay and bisexual men. So
it wasn't a lesbian or inclusive
Not back then, no. We're LGBTIQ plus everything now.
Oh, so it's inclusive now.
Yes, as of 2007 we went all the way. But back then, nope, just gay and bisexual men.
So what did they apologise about, though? Yeah. What's all that about?
Oh, look, when we applied for membership of the Jewish Community Council of Victoria, and it was quite an intense period of time and sort of a lot of lobbying and things went on, we applied to become a member, and that had to go to a vote. And at this meeting in May 1999, a lot of people got up and spoke for our membership, and a lot of the affiliates of the council spoke against. A number of them spoke against, and some of the people that spoke against said some pretty unpleasant and what I would call homophobic remarks about gay people and what we do and our agenda, and that was very hurtful, and it was not a very pleasant experience to stand in that room and listen to at least one, maybe two rabbis getting up, other members of the community, and saying what I thought were very damaging and hurtful comments.
Why did you want to be part of this organisation? Where's your benefit in that?
As an organisation that was representing a marginalised section of the community, we felt that we wanted to have a representation in the council, to have a place at the table, to have a voice, and be included and not continually excluded, to hopefully make people who are feeling uncomfortable about their position in the Jewish community a little bit less uncomfortable, and hopefully feel welcome and included, and we could provide some advocacy and ongoing visible support for gay and bisexual men at the time. The apology goes, and if I can just quote from the wording that was provided in the apology, it says that this is from the Jewish Community Council. They said, "We now recommit ourselves to welcoming and embracing LGBTIQ plus Jews in all our work, and part of our broader commitment to social inclusion for all members of the Jewish community of Victoria." And they go on to say, "Through our genuine commitment to equality and diversity, we seek to ensure that the mistakes of the past will not be repeated." And those are very important and healing words. And I think it was actually quite an historic occasion. I think it's the first time that a Jewish community has apologised to LGBTIQ people.
That's fantastic news.
Globally.
It's a very significant achievement, and if I can just ask, Michael, on a personal level, how does that feel?
Look, it was important to me to hear those words, Macca. It was 20 years of this hurt, and to hear that with my husband Gregory at my side on the night, and my parents around me, because they were there 20 years ago too, and other members of Aleph, to hear those words was, and they were sincere. I know they were sincere and they were genuine, and what happened on the night was actually quite telling, because someone from an organisation that was unsupportive of the apology got up and wanted to change the word hateful to harmful, to diminish the value of the apology, and the executive of the Jewish Community Council said, no, it was hateful language that was spoken 20 years ago, and it was harmful, but it was also hateful, and we're not going to change the word hate. That was more important to me, that they stood up against this additional degree of hate and supported their words, and that to me proved the sincerity and the genuine nature of what they were doing and trying to do, and to go forward and to be that inclusive organisation they want to be.
What's the next challenge? I mean, I'm looking at the Australian Jewish News here, and I actually do pick up a copy from time to time. I quite enjoy reading it.
So what's next, Michael?
That was the March edition, and we got page 6 of the a couple of weeks ago when the apology actually went through. Look, what's next for me? What's really important is removing the discrimination in religious schools against students, teachers, and other staff members. And I've been working hard to try and raise awareness around those within the Jewish schools, and to the credit of schools like Bialik College, King David School, Yavna College, Mount Scopus, etc. The schools are saying they don't want discrimination. They don't want the ability to discriminate, and I think they're genuine. And I know many of the principals are actually very genuine in that not want to discriminate. And to me, that's incredibly heartwarming to know that their students are being provided a safe space, and teachers too. And I would be surprised if we see discrimination in those schools. I wouldn't say all schools in the Jewish community are quite there yet, but many of those big prominent schools are actually very supportive and very inclusive, and becoming increasingly more so. So I think that is next.
In 1970, a rather remarkable thing happened. Gay people started to speak for themselves. In Australia, straights had been organising and agitating against the discrimination and the laws that gay people faced, but in 1970 a group of people in Sydney decided that we should take this task up for ourselves. They formed an organisation called Campaign Against Moral Persecution, CAMP for short. At a time when CAMP meant homosexual, it was the most commonly used word by gay people themselves, because gay didn't turn up till 1972. CAMP then was a very open organisation, proclaiming what it was and what it was about. Straight people were allowed to be members, but this was an organisation by and for homosexuals or camps or gays. The breakthrough moment came in September 1970 when the Australian, then a rather liberal newspaper, published a full-page article about CAMP. It included the names of the founders, John Ware and Christabel Pole, and their photographs. It created a sensation, and within a year the organisation had gone national. It had branches in all capital cities and something like 1,500 members. It was a very activist organisation. It published a news magazine called Camp Inc. It sent out speakers to community organisations. It lobbied and agitated newspaper editors and politicians. John Ware had the opinion at one point that it would be 20 years before gay people in Australia took to demonstrating in the streets, which is what they'd been doing in the United States for a few years by this stage. In fact, it wasn't 20 years. A little over a year later, CAMP organised its first public protest outside the Liberal Party headquarters in Sydney. In Melbourne, the branch called itself Society 5, a much more closeted name, which referred to the 5 principles or aims of the organisation and to the 5% of the population that we thought gay people were. It had something like 600 members. One of CAMP's great innovations was the creation of club rooms. Melbourne followed Sydney in this, having a number of locations including Queensbury Street. These were places where people could gather for social events, dances or other kinds of socialising, but also to organise their political work and to hold meetings.
I thought it was interesting how gay allies actually had to argue for gay rights initially. It must have been a really scary thing in those days to try and stand up and say something.
I think it's a great starting point for the debate about actually the allies are the ones that really were trying to push for this from the very beginning. So true. And isn't it great against the campaign against moral persecution in this episode took us right back around again to legalising same-sex marriage in Taiwan. So a beautiful circular story there.
Absolutely. A great ending.
So join us again next week for more QTV, where we're bringing you more Q+ stories from around the world.